I'm Vernell. I'm a recovering codependent and an adult child of a dysfunctional family. I will be one of your hosts and facilitators tonight.
And I'm Ava. I'm an adult child of an alcoholic, and I will be your other facilitator host tonight. We welcome each of you to the Anatomy of the 12-Step Study Group. The intention of this study group is to strengthen our recovery by examining each step in a basic way as it pertains to our personal lives. We hope this experience will help us all, newcomers and old-timers alike, to become more honest, open, willing to do the healing work it takes to become a healthy, mature adult. We will be here for this purpose for a minimum of 1 hour to a maximum of an hour and a half. No matter how briefly you have been in a 12-step program, please rest assured that you are a valuable member of this study group. Your experience is every bit as important as that of a person who has spent years in recovery. We grow together as we learn from each other. The Anatomy of the 12 Steps study group is not affiliated with, nor endorsed by, any specific 12-step program. Any 12-step recovery material is accepted in this meeting. However, even though non-12-step material may benefit you personally, we ask that you do not share it here. To help get tonight's discussion rolling, we have decided to focus on what we consider to be the 4 most powerful and potent words in step 1. These are we, admitted, powerless, unmanageable. At this time, 4 of the task force members, which will include Vernell and me, will each share for a maximum of 3 minutes on one of the first 4 questions in your step 1 homework. We're going to start with Kendall. Will you please share your response to question A? What is the importance of the word we instead of I in step 1? Thank you.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. Believe it or not, I was asked to give a 3-minute brief discourse discussing the first word of the first step, we. They gave me a 3-minute time limit, seriously? Anyone who's come to know me in the Zoom rooms realizes that I am both verbose and loquacious, words that I don't get to use often, which definitively assert that I talk too much. However, I gratefully accept the challenge as meaningful service work and have repeatedly rehearsed with a stopwatch. I'm channeling my inner native New Yorker, so let's see how it goes. I couldn't fix me. My mother couldn't love me well. My family's omnipresent, dynamic, toxic, generational dysfunction was tearing me apart. Despite a plethora of self-help books, counseling, medications, and a team of, for the most part, well-meaning professionals, I was not recovering. Fear, shame, guilt, and remorse dominated my personality and actions. I was stagnant, depressed, angry, and extremely confused. Then I heard the first word of the first step at my first recovery meeting, we. Per my sponsor's direction, I was encouraged to define the words in each step. We, a plural pronoun used to denote oneself and at least one other person or others. The word we celebrates inclusivity, fosters self-love through mutual identification, and provides unity for our otherwise marginalized voices. The power of we and how one simple word can change our view in our relationships has shown that positive relationships require a we perspective. Psychology research shows us that we and us are associated with happy relationships and better conflict resolution than when we focus on me and you alone. We identifies me as a part of. In recovery, this equation works. We equals me plus you plus my sponsor plus my higher power. Through meditations, meetings, step work, prayer, and service, I can recover, but only with my recovery family. In this manner, isolation is broken and pain diminished. we gain hope, clarity, upwardly shifting gratitude, gradual acceptance, and peace of mind, the hallmarks and essence of the healing recovery process. We bring smiles to my face during meetings. We allows me to be me, allows you to be you, and allows humor and wisdom to displace and replace despair and confusion. Our recovery helps us to gain perspective, direction, and purpose. Sharing strength, admitting weaknesses, intermixed with mind activating and stimulating recovery strategies has generated hope, created and deepened friendships, facilitated meaningful conversations, and afforded quote unquote new ways to communicate effectively. I could not do it alone, and now I don't have to. We gives us the power of choice, which gives us the power to change. Whatever our recovery backgrounds, this is a we program. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Kendall. And just a reminder for everybody else to be muted when we're sharing. Thank you. Okay, that was we. We are now going on to admitted, and Jane is going to share about that power word. Thank you, Jane.
Hi, I'm Jane. I'm a grateful recovering codependent. What does the word admitted mean to me? What does it feel like to admit something? Is it relief? Is it shameful? Do I feel vulnerable? Do I feel empowered? That was the question. The dictionary definition is confess to be true, to be the case, typically with reluctance. In the context of step one, going back to 4 years ago when I first came to CODA, I had been in an unhealthy relationship for 7 years, very codependent and emotionally damaging. Each time I called a good friend, a fellow traveler, agonizing over ending the relationship, she would ask me these questions. Has your life become unmanageable? Are you feeling powerless? How did I feel answering those questions? Admitting, on one hand, I did feel shame. I felt like a failure. I felt defeated that I had spent so much time in an unhealthy relationship. My goodness, 7 years. And that that it was so hard to end. On the other hand, admitting, I felt enlightened. I felt that I had been blind and now I could see. I felt a new sense of hope for healing and freedom. Now, after experiencing the power of working the steps the past 4 years, admitting in the context of step one is empowering to me. I know that it is necessary to bring healing, peace, serenity, and freedom. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Jane. And as we work our way down, we are now at Powerless, and Vernell is going to share about that. Thank you, Vernell.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here. Powerless. Who, me? I had it all together, or so it seemed. I was shiny on the outside, but on the inside, I was withering away. I appointed myself the higher power of my world, yet asked, why is this happening to me? Where is God in this? I created a monster of a mess. I was exhausted, overwhelmed, frustrated. The juggling act I had been performing was falling apart. There was a problem, and the problem was me. At a deep level, I knew I couldn't keep up this insane way of living. The illusion of control had to end. This was a bottom, my gift of desperation. I chose to accept it. I was ready to surrender and kiss denial goodbye. It was time to admit I was powerless. Powerless, a most potent word. What did it mean to me? It meant I denied reality. I had an inability to live life as my true self. I was unable to stop acting out of my compulsive behaviors, such as fixing, enabling, caretaking, advice giving, arranging outcomes, reading minds, being hypervigilant, overdoing, and fearful thinking. Every day I admit I am powerless over some person, place, or thing. Accepting what I can't change is the key to my serenity. Acceptance does not have to mean I approve. Today, I'm okay with that. My healing journey began by taking step one. By admitting powerlessness, I discovered my true source of power. What is it, you ask? The power of choice. It is one of my greatest gifts of recovery. When I share and work with others, I get to create positive power. I strive to empower fellow travelers, and by doing this, I support my own recovery. This was my get real and give up step. I found freedom from the effects of being overly responsible for others, and I started taking care of me because I was worth it. It happened when I became honest, open, and willing to face facts and own my truth. A quote by Russell Brand, and I will end with this. It is by admitting that we have no power that we can begin the process of accessing all the power we will ever need. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Vernell. And I'm going to respond to the last word, unmanageable. I just have to find my notes here. Okay, unmanageable. It has taken me a while to come to terms with the word unmanageable as it is used in step one. For me, this word always seemed far too tame, more like a word to describe curly hair on a rainy day than one to describe the wreckage of my life. In other words, unmanageable is not a word that naturally resonates with me in the way that is intended to, whereas the term shit show, were it to be used instead, absolutely does. However, if we all here agree that unmanageable can be stretched far enough to cover a life that has been largely characterized by rebelliousness, impulsiveness, broken relationships, mistrust, discontentedness, anxiety, shame, overthinking, hypervigilance, codependency, isolation, self-abandonment, self-absorption, and endless searching for relief for all of those things, then yes, 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 my life, just like me, had well and truly become unmanageable. Thank you for letting me share.
Okay, I'm going to take over. Thank you to all the task force members for sharing your experience, strength, and hope on these questions in step one. We have decided not to utilize breakout rooms for tonight's session. However, it is possible that they may be used in the future. Before we begin, we kindly ask you to please respect your fellow travelers by honoring our no crosstalk guidelines that you have received by email. Use only I statements when you share. We want to hear from you, your thoughts, your perceptions, challenges, and your feelings. Unmute yourself when sharing and state your name, maybe how you identify and where you are from. Please finish your share by saying thank you so it is clear that you have ended. Because of the size of this study group, and I don't know how many are on here, I'm gonna look 63. We ask that you please keep your shares limited to a maximum of 2 to 3 minutes long. A sign will be raised after 3 minutes as a friendly reminder for you to quickly wrap up. Hopefully, everyone who wishes to share will have an opportunity to do so. However, if you do not get a chance to share, please keep in mind that going with the flow of things, along with truly listening to all who share, can be a rewarding experience in and of itself. It is now time to open our discussion. This is what we've all been waiting for. Anyone can begin. Please remember to raise your digital hand so you can be brought into the conversation. If you are unable to raise your digital hand, please put a message in the chat box and one of us will try to get you into the conversation.
What I looked at was my other books about step one, and this is from Hope for Today, which is an Al-Anon book, which I've had since 2002. And the things that stood out to me, I loved all four of. I love the words and everything. And the first thing that I underlined on this page is what I do not admit in step one is as important as what I do admit. I do not admit that I'm a failure. I may feel like a failure, but I'm not a failure. And then I underlined, when I admit my life is unmanageable, I do not admit that I'm a bad person. And I need only apply step one to begin to regain my serenity. And I thought that was, and with the shares, I thought that was just very good. And I just wanted to share that. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, Maria, you're next.
Good night, everybody. This is Maria Jose Majo MJ from Mexico in Miami Beach and coming from ACA and CODA. Let me tell myself, just make sure I'm not going over time. But I love this tape. Actually, I got stuck on the airplane without any movie, and I'm like, okay, this is the right time to do it. And I have so many like highlights. I think that's what I want to share the most. I was doing like, I'm always such a like great student, so I'm like very obsessive, and I'm looking at different definitions for all the programs, reading different articles. But some key like highlights kind of like really catch my attention, and one was like, we confuse love with interference. And actually recently I realized like how much I needed some CODA meetings, because I realized I become quite codependent of my partner, and it used to be before with my sister, and now it went to my partner. And I realized actually going through the list of Powerless was quite interesting, because I'm making the list and I'm realizing, oh, every person that is closer, like the most beloved person to me that is closest to me, I become extremely codependent and I want to control them. And another highlight I got that I do a lot is we don't know how to show affection without giving advice, seeking to say on others' decisions or manipulation. So I cannot understand my highlight, but we confuse caring with controlling. We admit that we have been pursuing on an illusion. And I love this one. We let go of the illusion of power over alcohol or over other people. It's like, oh my God, that's exactly what I do all the time. I guess I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing, MJ. Catherine, you're next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Catherine. I'm an ACA and also CODA, Codependent Anonymous. And when I went to my first meeting, I remember thinking, it felt like a cancer diagnosis, because when they read the patterns and characteristics, I thought, oh my God, I can't believe I identify so much with this. So to start, step one, as far as being a we program, support of others along the path of recovery, like a commonality. Admitted, I actually came to terms that night that I was codependent. I admitted that, that I saw that things were not as I wanted in my life, and I knew I needed help. I just didn't know how to get there. So the steps were the starting place for me. And then the powerlessness was probably the more difficult part of that first step, because I thought I was in control. Letting go of my control, realizing I can only change myself, that I have no control over the behavior, actions of other people. That was a big wake-up call for me. And then accepting the unmanageable level of my life and how I'd gotten there was a huge realization. So I had to accept the fact and understand that the way my life had become was truly unmanageable. And that was the first step. And that was the beginning of my recovery 6 years ago. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Catherine, for sharing. Nikki D, you're next.
Hello, all. I am an ACA and an addict named Nicola. I go by Nikki. I've spent 9 years in the NA fellowship, recently making a switch to the ACA fellowship. And so I've had a lot of experience with working the NA first step. Have gone over it a lot with sponsees, and I've done it myself. And I'm, I've been trying to find the courage and, just the willingness to be willing to dive headfirst into the ACA program, because I know that's exactly what I need in this next stage of my life right now. So that's my intention all the time. But I had an aha moment here. Well, the thing is that I did attend last week. I had every intention on doing the first step homework and the readings, every intention. And somehow the week went by and I did not do the homework. And I just want to say that as we were starting this meeting, my aha moment was that that is a sign of unmanageability to me in my life right now today, because I had every intention on doing it and somehow I didn't prioritize that to make it happen. And I know no matter how busy of a week it is, I can make it work if it's important to me, and I didn't. And so there's still some form of unmanageability in my life that I need to look at, that I'm not prioritizing my recovery right now. So that's what I wanted to share, guys. And I'm just really grateful for this group. This is very exciting. I know I keep saying diving first into the ACA program, and I know that this is not affiliated with any 12-step fellowship. I'm just sharing where I'm at right now, but I'm very excited for this group and the perspectives, and I've already enjoyed so much listening to the shares. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Nikki. Now we have Nancy and then Greta. Go ahead, Nancy.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I'm from Indiana, and I am a CODA and Al-Anon member. So what I wanted to talk about was the powerless part. I came into the program and got a sponsor and started working the steps, and I worked step 1 intellectually. Like, I had faith in a higher power, so I could admit that I was powerless and that I could turn things over to my higher power, and I could do that. And I could admit that my life was unmanageable on an intellectual level. But step 1 didn't really hit me until a couple months later. I started having difficulties in the relationship with the person that was my partner at the time. And one night, he was not speaking to me. We were in the same apartment. And he was not speaking to me, and I had no idea why. And he was just being this lump on the couch with no interaction, no anything. And so I went into the bathroom. It was a very small apartment, so that's the only place that I really could go for privacy. And I remember standing at the sink, leaning up against the sink. I remember what I had on. I remember everything about that few moments. And I just prayed to God to do something. I didn't care what it was. I just honestly admitted from my heart that I didn't have any answers, that I couldn't make things go better. I couldn't fix it. And that was really hard for me to admit. And at that moment, I just remember a huge sense of relief, of knowing that there was somebody else besides me that I could share this burden with, that would help me figure out what I was supposed to do next and what direction to turn. And I will tell you that, like I said, I took step one at an intellectual level, but I didn't really take it at a spiritual level until that moment. And so I guess the thing I really wanted to highlight is there's two ways to do step one. You can do it at the level of your head, but hopefully you'll get to a place where you can do it at the level of your heart, because that's what really made the difference for me. So that's all.
Thank you, Nancy. Greta, you're next, and then Laura from Louisiana.
Hi, I'm Greta, and I'm codependent. I wrote the summary for the homework, and I thought that's really where I, was able to really see what I had learned overall from working this step. And as a codependent, my powerlessness is over others. However, through this, I have realized that I'm powerless over a hell of a lot of things, but in an effort not to get overwhelmed, I'm just going to focus on the others right now. So for me, step one, it is a step of admission, acceptance, and humility. And the part of the humility that really spoke to me the most was how I ended up defining it, having talked to a close relative who is in another 12-step program. And I have determined that to be being able to recognize that God's will is more important than what we may want or desire ourselves. And so that's something that I am trying to kind of keep in check every day. Other things that I have learned through working this step is that through our admittance and acceptance, I had to accept that these traits are unhealthy and that they were developed during my childhood, which, it's what I learned or perceived or deduced to be true. It somehow developed into patterns and behaviors for me. And that is regardless if the source of this had any type of malicious intentions, or whether it was just a byproduct of, caretakers doing the best that they could with the knowledge they had at the time. And I just wasn't receptive to it. I've also learned that I have to accept myself as a codependent in addition to just solely admitting it, meaning that I have to accept where I am today and change my mindset regarding the label of codependent. Because to me, I viewed it as, there's nothing wrong with the core of a person who is labeled diabetic or epileptic. And just the same, there's nothing wrong with me being codependent. I have thoughts to reframe, patterns to unlearn, and emotional wounds to heal. but there's nothing wrong with who I am at the core as a person. And so for me, it's not so much how I should define myself, but more of a realization of something that needs to change within myself. And I will pass.
Thank you, Greta. Laura from Louisiana, then Abby.
Hi, everybody. Laura from Louisiana, adult, child, and codependent. I wanted to say thank you for everyone who has given service to this anatomy. You guys are putting a ton of work into this, and I'm aware of how much of it's all your personal time, but just how much of that is going into it. I'm very grateful. I want to share on what I learned about myself through the homework assignment. And let me say that I'm still on step 4. I'm 4 months into ACA, but I want to say I had no problems with step 1, 2, and 3. And I even have the yellow workbook. And what I like about this anatomy course is that you guys posed additional questions, a new way to look at it. So thank you. And I want to answer in my share one of those questions and what stood out for me. There was a question posed in the homework. Is there a particular person, place, or thing that you try your utmost to control? And so, yes, the answer for me is absolutely. And I'm sure there are numerous, but for this exercise, it's a person, specific person. So as I dug deep into my homework, I asked the question, why? I think the question was posed, why? Why do I feel so compelled to control this person so much? And I answered honestly. And I discovered that, well, I want this person to value me. I discovered through my control that I don't want to be alone. Maybe this person won't think of me. Maybe they won't need me. And then this one's kind of funny. Maybe I won't have as much fun if I don't control the specific person. So, I went in to answer that. Okay, I won't be of value to this person. Well, I can't decide that for them. That is so arrogant to think that I am going to decide who is going to value me. It was very enlightening to do this exercise. Number 2, I won't be alone. Well, that is just simply not true. That is fear-based, ridiculous talk. If I am controlling people because I think I'm going to be alone, that is wrong and rude and a lot of other things. This person won't think of me. Well, I can't make that happen. And this person deserves choices, just like we deserve choices. This person won't need me. Well, I actually came to think, well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing if they don't need me. And they have the right to choose their wants and their needs. And then lastly, I won't have as much fun if I don't control this person. Well, how much fun I have is up to me. And this was just enlightening, honestly. And there's more, but that's what I wanted to share with the group. I want to finish my share by saying I completely appreciate the we in step 1. I have been separate all my life. My mother, I was separate. My father, I was separate. My stepdad, I was separate. I didn't have the right last name. Separate. My mother didn't come to my 2-year-old's birthday party because she didn't want to meddle. Everybody was always very separate from me. I appreciate the we in this statement. I don't feel alone. So thank you. And then lastly, it was mentioned the true source of power is the power of choice for me and the power of choice for others. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Laura. Deandra, and then Jen B. from North Carolina.
Hi, everybody. My name is Deandra. I am also in Indiana, ACA, adult child of an alcoholic and dysfunctional family. Yesterday was my 6-month mark of first entering the doors of ACA. And I had been anxiously awaiting this study. I wanted to share on the part E of number 4, the control, because this has been coming up over the last couple of weeks. In another ACA meeting I go to, that was part of the reading, and it may have been a part of one of the readings here in the last couple of weeks. I never thought that I was trying to control people. Did not think that. I think what I called it was helping. So wow, that is so deep to me. And as I, think about this stuff and just try to get it in my spirit and try to figure me out, it really hit me hard. What I'm realizing, I didn't even know that I'm having trouble in my marriage right now, and I think a lot of it has to do with past traumas and things like that, just surfacing, and it's just really hard. Just not sure this is going to work out, but hey, I'm still praying. But we shall see. And it asks about how is it working for you. It's totally not working for me at all. And I think what I would have to face in my own life, if I stopped trying to control other people, I would have to face me. I would really have to stop and evaluate me. I thought that I was always a pretty confident person. I present as that, smart, pretty much do whatever I put my mind to, type of thing. But to really stop and focus on me as opposed to other people is hard. But what has been happening over these last 6 months is that I am being forced to do that, one way or another, because of what's going on in my marriage. I mean, I just have to really stop and examine myself. I have struggled with weight since my daughter was born. She will be 28 on Sunday, and I have recently just started to really focus on my health. I did have gastric bypass surgery 10 years ago, and I'm done well, but I still didn't feel as healthy as I could be. So life right now is just forcing me to stop and control me, because that's really all I can control. Accept that I can only control me, work on me, and practice the self-love. I need to practice the love, care, and compassion I give to other people on me. And I've never totally done that. So it's very scary for me. So doing that means I have to say no to some things. I have to stop myself from doing some things that otherwise I would try to help with, which is really controlling, trying to control. I'm not sure why it's so scary, because I'm not a bad person. I'm not any of that. But I don't know. I've always been okay with sharing my thoughts and things like that, and very I think the word is introspective. I mean, I've always been very self-reflective and trying to make sure I'm not doing things to hurt people and things like that. But that's what it's forcing me to do. It's scary for me. But I will say, by doing this, I am down 21 pounds just by trying to stay healthy. I'm not focusing on trying to be perfect at it. I'm focusing on progress and not perfection. And that's really still scary for me. But I'm so excited that I'm doing it. If I could just practice this self-love that I thought I had, and compassion for myself, and just not being so hard on myself. That's just kind of what resonated with me throughout step number 1. And I just pray to continue, and I'll be back to keep learning. And I thank you all so much just for this group and your service and just being a part of my we. Thank you.
Thank you, Deandra. Jen B. from North Carolina, then Sue.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen. I'm a recovering codependent, and I'm an adult child. And I love step 1. I remember when I hit my my worst bottom 2 years ago, admitting I was powerless at first I felt very defeated. I felt like I had failed at life because I wasn't fully in control of everything. And I would spend every day trying to control every single thing, person, place, or thing in my life, from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep, and I barely slept most nights. From like how healthy my dog was going to be, how happy my dog was going to be, to the bus driver and how he drove the bus to the city, to every coworker I worked in the building with, blah, blah, blah. When I did hit my bottom, it was a pretty significant mental health crisis. And I was very ashamed at the time, but I quickly began to realize that it was freeing and it allowed me to have choices. Admitting I'm powerless over all of everything means I have choices. I can just focus on what I want to do and what I need, because I can't control any of the rest of it. And so now, 2 years later, with the help of the 12-step programs, I have learned to focus on self-care. And my life and my experience of life has changed drastically and for the better. So some of the things that I do now, I remember, being told to practice self-care. And I was like, I don't even know. That was like it was like a foreign language to me. But now I understand it. I try to get a good amount of sleep every night. And I do all of these things proactively. I proactively try to get good rest every night. First thing I do in the morning is read my meditation books and 12-step materials. I take a walk. I get out in nature because my higher power is really connecting with nature. I try to do loving kindness meditation. And all of those things really set my day up for just being smoother. Or I should say, I handle things more smoothly because I can't control what's going to happen in my day, but I'm in a better place to manage it. And it's just nice because I never thought I had the choice of how I was experiencing life. I experienced most of my life in full-blown panic, full-blown anxiety constantly. And I feel content most of the time now. And I didn't even think that was possible. So I'm just really grateful for this program, and so happy to be working the steps with all of you. And I'm also very grateful for the we part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Sue from South Carolina, and then Karen next.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm an adult child and a codependent, and I was hesitant to sign up for this class because I've worked the steps like 4 times in different step studies, but I was encouraged by all the good things I heard about this class from last year. And I'm so glad I did. I've been reaching out more for the homework, which I didn't necessarily do. I think I just, maybe it was intellectually tried to get it, but I always I kind of made step 1 a rule, like to concede you're powerless. And I kind of used it as a way to beat myself up into not having my feelings about what I was going through. And in talking with a fellow traveler, he said that he felt it deep, the powerlessness. And I feel like this week I've kind of touched on it a little bit, like a place of deep humility that I just didn't experience before. So I wanted to thank everybody for all the work you put into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, for sharing. Karen from Ontario, then Abby.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for putting this on. Thank you for your service. I really enjoyed doing step 1, but I'm learning more now, again, doing this homework. And I had an aha moment last night 2 nights ago, I was talking to a fellow traveler, and it was regarding, well, the last question, kind of like the person that I try the utmost to control is my partner. And it's because I want him to care more, to be more empathetic, to be more healthy, to be more optimistic, to be a better driver, to acknowledge me more, just among a few things, you know. And talking to fellow travelers, like, this is a completely different person than who he is, right? And it's just like, so that to me, and it's not working at all. It obviously creates conflict. Like, since joining ACA, I've been staying in my lane more and not trying to control as much, although it's still hard. And I think these probably come down to traits that I aspire to. Also, I think I just have never let myself trust him 100%. And it's probably because I haven't been the most trustworthy person in the past either. And so, what else did I write about that? Yeah, and I think this control is also just fear-driven. Fear of being alone, of having made a big mistake getting into this relationship probably, and just fear of the unknown, right? And so anyways, that's all I wanted to share, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen from Ontario. Abby, and then Jana.
Hi, everybody. I echo the presenters, and the shares have been just amazing. I'd like to, and I'm Abby, codependent and adult child recovering. I'm going to comment on A and then E. When I first did step one, when I first was introduced to CODA, that was probably my easiest step. I struggled with 2 and 3 a lot. But just the realizing that it wasn't just me who talked incessantly in my own head or had all these obsessive thoughts. It was just so comforting to find out that I wasn't alone. And it was very easy for me to grasp that life was unmanageable. And it was very easy for me to grasp that I was powerless over others. Letting go of the control was a little, that was a little more difficult. But I is so judgmental and so complacent and so self-sabotaging. And we is just, it's just so welcoming. I mean, I am happy to be in the same group as people with compulsions and people who are seeking recovery and who are seeking peace. It just really helps me let go. Now, E, what are things that I still try to control? Well, ironically, in my former codependent life, which I love saying, I was very controlling with my husband and with my daughter, and that was easier to let go. But my husband is currently in rapidly declining health physically and cognitively. And at the very beginning of that, when I was in denial, I was really struggling with, am I controlling in trying to deal with my denial or whatever with the acceptance. And now I'm learning to discern the difference between healthy caretaking with some, that type of situation and controlling. I can't control physically or mentally what's going on with somebody's health. All I can do is get them the best care and do the best that I can as a partner. But it still feels rather ironic because it still feels so controlling, but I am trying to balance the control with, like I said, with acceptance. And my intention is caretaking, but not controlling. So I don't know if that made any sense, but thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Abby. Jana, then Madeline, and Laura Michelle.
Hi, Jana, ACA from New York. Yes, thank you, everyone, for serving, doing service. For me, when I was doing this homework, forgot to put my timer. Do it now. Okay. Before, when I was doing the homework, I liked the piece about listing out all of the person, places, and things that I am powerless over. And for me, it was like all of my things that I was listing were things that were that were contributing to my anxiety so much. And I remember talking to a therapist, and she was saying that, she was asking me, like, when did I first start becoming anxious and stuff? And I told her, like, specifically, I think I said about 22, 23. And then I'm like, upon recent reflection, I would say anxiety on from probably like 11 and present day kind of thing. And I made myself sick on the first day of 6th grade because I was so nervous about going. Like, I couldn't actually get there. I couldn't get myself to go because I was so unbelievably nervous at what I couldn't control and what I didn't, and what I wasn't, just not being able to expect what was going to happen, that first day of school. So, for me to actually list out, all of these pieces in my life that I can't control, for me, gave me some power. I feel like there's a lot of power in admitting powerlessness. And I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm anxious, excited to see what more is going to be revealed here, because this first homework was great. Dug as deep as I could, I think. And I know that the work is only going to get, more and more serious. So with that, I will pass. I kind of just wanted to say hello and just talk a little bit here. So anyhow, thank you for listening, and I'll pass. Thanks.
Thank you. Madeline, and we may try to finish out with Hortensia. We'll see how it goes. We don't want to keep you all here too late. So Madeline, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Madeline from North Carolina, a codependent and an adult child, and I hope my audio is better now. But I wanted to share my reaction to that first step, but actually I want to share two things that happened to me early in my recovery life or early in my adult life that coincided and tripped over each other. And I didn't realize it, until I really got into the 12-step program. But I was a teacher, and I was teaching a sociology course in the family. And in that process, the local social services, social workers called me their moms at the time, people that were under social services care, but they just had babies. And they wanted me to come up there and talk to them about parenting or marriage, or I forgot even what they wanted me to talk about. But I went up to their office, and I got there a little bit early. So I slipped into the room and sat in the back because they were watching a video. And the video was talking about people that come from dysfunctional families. They talked about the enabler. They talked about the dependent, the mom and the dad. They talked about the children in that family, the hero, the scapegoat, the lost child, the mascot. And I was sitting there watching that video, waiting to come on and be the next speaker. And I was stunned. I thought, who in the world had been watching my family? How do they know anything about my family? I mean, it was so clear to me. That was number one. Number two is I got into recovery and read this thing about step 1, that I'm powerless. And I thought, heck no, I'm not powerless. I'm an American We have a good educational system. We're the top people in the world, right? You know, how can I be powerless? I wasn't powerless. But the other part of that was, you know, admitted we were, and I said, my life's not unmanageable. My husband's life is unmanageable. He's not doing what I want him to do. My son's life is unmanageable. He's not doing what I want him to do. My students are not doing what I want them to do. My neighbors are not doing what I think they should do. I'm not the one that's unmanageable. They are. You see where I'm going with all this? Well, when I finally realized there's a connection with the type of family that grew up and was unmanageable and they had roles that the children played. And then I came into this program and y'all said, you know, all right, how's your life going for you, Madeline? And I said, my marriage is falling apart. That's why I'm in this program. What else can I tell you? You know, I didn't realize that I really was powerless over other people. Y'all had to teach me that. But I think what happened was twofold in this program. And one is, y'all also told me that if I would give up control, because of course I was a controller, y'all said, if you give up control, Madeline, you will gain power. And I thought that was the stupidest statement I had ever heard. How can I gain power by giving up control? I thought if I kept control, I would have power. It's not that way in here. It flipped. Finally, I had to redefine that statement just a little bit. And I did it this way. I said, you know, to give up control is to gain personal power. And once I saw it that way, I began to understand. I really learned early in my recovery that those first 3 steps of the 12-step program is to make me teachable. How was my life doing for me at the time? It was awful. It was falling apart. And I had tried to control it and make it work. And I could not control it. I couldn't make it work. So we had ended up in therapy, doing marriage therapy, marriage and family therapy. And that's where I began to learn about the 12-step program. And the only meetings that I could go to at the time was Al-Anon, but that was a great step for me early on. And I discovered so much about me was by coming into this program. And I really love it. I finally realized that I didn't cause the problems I was in. I just didn't know any of the solutions. But maybe I didn't cause it, but it was in my authority or my power to change it. And that's what I did in recovery with you guys, showing me how to change my life to make it so much better. And I'm so glad I came into this program. And thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Madeline, Laura, and then Hortensia, and we will finish out with Nisreen. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura, ACA and CODA. I've really enjoyed all the shares and really liked working with step 1. I was reading some Melody Beattie Codependence Guide to the 12 Steps to kind of help me learn a little bit more about step 1. And I kind of struggle with the word unmanageable because externally, you know, people that know me, my friends and family, think I have everything all together. And in a sense, like I do on the outside. So I was like, well, unmanageable, like my life isn't really unmanageable. Like I think I'm doing okay. But when I kind of looked at this question, in the Melody Beattie book, it asked, you know, how are you doing emotionally, financially, spiritually, physical health, and, you know, mental health. And as I started journaling about all those things, I realized like every area I suffer from this, you know, crippling anxiety, this like mental negative thought patterns that just are so, you know, unrelenting throughout my day-to-day life. And it really was a light bulb going off that the unmanageability isn't about like what my life looks like to other people on the outside. It's about how I feel. And the struggles are, really do affect my day-to-day life. And so that kind of really made me feel confident about kind of moving forward in this program. It's like, well, yeah, my life definitely is unmanageable. And then the homework, one of the questions that kind of stood out to me was, part E, about the thing I'm most trying to control. I kind of found that for me, it was, I'm trying to control really like everyone's opinion of me by, monitoring my appearance. And for me, it manifests in kind of a toxic situation with, eating and dieting and weight loss and weight fluctuation and things like that. And so, having the awareness that I'm trying to control what everyone thinks of me, even strangers on the street, my mother taught me, from a young age, it's very important, what you look like. And it's like, I'm so brainwashed by it that it's hard to realize that that's what I'm doing, in my day-to-day life. But this, step one homework kind of helped me to realize that, if I were to stop trying to control what others think, but because of my appearance, I feel like I would be left with my own opinion of myself, which is, sort of low. Like my self-esteem is low. And so I feel like as a distraction, I kind of try to manipulate what others think of me. And so, recognizing that and admitting that, I'm hoping will, help me move on for the program. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, Laura. Hortensia, and then Nasreen, and then we're gonna roll on to step 2 homework. Thank you. Okay, I don't know what, okay, go ahead, Hortensia. There you go.
Hi, my name is Hortensia. Thank you everybody for your service and setting up this amazing step study. And thank you everybody for your shares. They've been so rich, and I've been taking notes from all of you. Thank you so much. So I went and looked at the book of Workaholics Anonymous on step 1, and I did some YouTube searches to see other people who share on the step 1 to kind of refresh it. And some of the things that stood out for me was like acknowledging my that one of my go-to numbing compulsions and addictions is work, and that I have not, that it has defeated me. And it looks so good on the outside, and that I've been so driven by what others' opinion of me is, that I keep doing it because it enforces how others think of me. Oh, she achieved, she accomplished all this work, she's doing so much for everybody. And so, but how I feel for myself is not the same. And so step 1 for me is about admitting that I've been defeated by this compulsion or addiction, and that it's stronger than me, that I can't manage it alone, that it's stronger than me, that that I need the help of my group, my support group, that I need the help of working my steps and sponsorship, and that I need to define abstinence for me. And I haven't defined what abstinence is in workaholism, because I can't not eat. I mean, not work, because it's something I have to do, but what defines that bottom, that I need to have clarity, like anything past this, or what is that definition for myself? And that's something I need to work on, so that I know like what that means, that I have to stop. I also worked on what are the areas that this has affected me, and also, like understand that this is a step about humbleness, about surrendering and becoming teachable, about being extremely humble and say, I can't do this alone, and to really, really solidify my commitment to sobriety and to my recovery program. So I thank you all for being part of this for me and for being here for me and for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Hortensia. Nisreen, go ahead, please, and we'll finish out.
Hi, thank you for letting me share, and thank you for organizing this. My life is so unmanageable. I did not do the homework. I did not get I don't know how I missed it, because last week I wanted to be on 2 groups for some reason. But this is very part of my unmanageability, is that I want to get better so quickly. I want to do everything. And the ACA kind of overwhelmed me in the beginning, but now I'm getting the handle of it. And hopefully, you know, I will do next week's homework in time. So I've read Melanie Beattie different things over the years, and so my life has been unmanageable. I'm powerless over it. Like, I've had so many problems in the recent year, especially since COVID started. It's just blew up. I broke up with my ex, different problems. So then you say in your anatomy, so I can't control other people, but I do it without even noticing, especially with my ex. It's about, like, for me, it was about wanting them to care for me a certain way and then acting weak and meek to get them close, even though I'm not like this. And I know where it comes from my mother and father. And I also try to control my family, which I'm doing it much less, but I still do it. Okay, it starts with we instead of I, because you know what? All my family is codependent. They're so codependent. Like, my sister is so wanting to control me when I see her that it drives me crazy. But I have to not go crazy. So what does the word admitted mean to me that I'm powerless? It means to me, you know, I have to surrender and abandon, like, all I can do, and it's a relief. Like, I don't have to live my life as it should. I think it should be in my head. Just whatever happens, I can only do the next best step. I can't control the outcome. There's no way. No matter how much I worry about it. However, my nervous system is just gonna wanna worry and think about something. But then I have to, you know, I do my 12-step, my prayers in the morning, the surrendering from Coda, which helps me. Let me see what else. It's exhausting to want my life to be unmanageable. I'm really sorry, this is very not prepared, because I actually did it now. This is how unmanageable I am. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to thank you, everyone, and I'm gonna cut the time short because I'm taking too much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna turn it over now. Thank you, everybody. Great shares. Appreciate everybody that jumped in there and said what they needed to say, what was on their heart. So our next week's facilitators for step 2, Catherine, Kendall, Betty, Grace, and Laura. I'm going to turn it over to one of them. I'm not sure who's going to do it, but I'm handing it over.
Scan has completed. Warning, Mac Clean Pro detected items that need.
Hi, I'm Catherine. Yes, we're going to be doing step 2. You'll receive the homework tonight from Ava. There's a number of questions. They're not from any particular program, 12-step program, but they do address that second step. You're free to, you know, use whatever program material that you want to use. We tend to have a boundary on program material because people are not getting paid. They're not authors. They do this anonymously. So that is sort of where we like to sort of stay. And also we had a boundary on Crosstalk. So like, I know people want to give accolades to others and, you know, appreciate their shares, but just the gift of listening and maybe a little pause and silence after a share is a boundary of no crosstalk. When we say to another that your share was great and we want to give you an accolade, that is judging and that's fixing. And in this program, we don't do that. So next week will be step 2, and Ava will send out the homework very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. I know this will be something to look forward to. Okay, does anybody from the task force want to add anything or say anything before we get ready to close here? Briefly, okay. All right, guys. Please feel free to share the concepts you heard tonight, but not who was here, so that we protect the anonymity of each person in this group. As we bring this step 1 study group session to a close, we ask you to please take what you need and leave the rest. Just before closing, here are 2 final announcements. And I think it's already been said, the homework will be sent out to you immediately following this. Ava's ready, set to go with it. And you will also be receiving email reminders with your homework the Tuesday and everything beforehand to remind you. So check your emails and make sure you get what you need. Now I'm going to close with one of my favorite slogans, followed by the ACA Unity Prayer. One of my favorite slogans is by Yoda. The healing work we must do or do not. There is no try. ACA Unity Prayer. I put my heart in yours, and together we can do what we could never do alone. No longer must we each depend upon our own unsteady willpower. We are all together, reaching out our hearts for a power and strength greater than ours. And as we join hearts, we find love and understanding beyond our wildest dreams. Thanks for joining us. Glad you were here. I hope y'all got something out of it. And if you didn't get all of it done, you can still do it, right? All is well.